Hi, and welcome to the Daily Record's latest In Conversation. My name is Scott Burns, and I'm joined by my usual sidekick, Anthony Evans. Anthony, how are you?
I'm good, Scott. How are you doing?
I'm good, thank you. And today's special guest is Aberdeen and Scotland legend, Willie Miller. Mr. Miller,
hello guys.
Thank you for joining us. I hope you're well.
I am, yeah, I'm fine.
Good. So, Willie, we've got you on today. I mean, you're looking to promote something. I think you're getting part of the old gang back together, I believe. Yourself and Mr. McLeish.
Yeah, my sparring partner, Big Eck, is going to join us up here in Aberdeen to what is it, a theatre, a club? I can't remember. It's been a long time since I've been anywhere near it, but I believe it's a good venue for what we're proposing, which is a chat about maybe a walk down memory lane, perhaps, and recalling some of the old times, the good times at Aberdeen, the trophy wins, and what happened in the dressing room, what happened outside the dressing room. So, a kind of an in-depth look at. And international as well, you know. Obviously, with the World Cup coming up, it's a time to speak about World Cups adventures. It's been such a long time since we've been there. Obviously, myself and Big Alec coupled together, 2 World Cups together. So we'll be talking about that. We'll be talking about Aberdeen. We'll be talking about things generally. We'll be giving you an insight into what goes on within football, within the bills of the dressing room, the fun parts of it, the not so fun parts of it, which of course there always is, because you don't win every game. And I'm sure that the audience coming to join us over the 2 nights will enjoy it, and will deep dive into what went on back in the day.
Aye, so that's basically the Miller and McLeish podcast live, which will kick off probably with a regular podcast. That's going to be on the 26th and 27th of May in Aura nightclub in Aberdeen, as we say. So be good to see some. I mean, it'd be good to get in amongst the fans and that again, Willie, as well, wasn't it? There's been a few of late with the Gothenburg celebrations, the different celebrations, but it's always good to catch up with the fans in these sort of nights, isn't it?
Yeah, and they seem to enjoy it as well. You know, they seem to buy into it, and we obviously will invite questions from the audience as well, I would imagine, and we'll have Rob McLean there hosting it. So it should be a very good night, a night that I'm sure the fans will enjoy, and certainly we will. And as you said, we've done 1 or 2 recently, with the anniversary of Gothenburg. So it's going to be interesting, that's for sure.
It's so important as well, isn't it, that the next generation of Aberdeen fans are aware of, the history that the club had back in those days, and just to keep sharing them stories and passing it down the generations, as I said.
Yeah, I'm sure their fathers and grandfathers nowadays will be passing some stories that they've enjoyed over the years. Particularly back in the 80s, when it was such a wonderful time for the club. And the last thing that we want as players is to put any kind of a burden on the present setup and the present team. We know it's different times completely, but there's nothing wrong with looking back in the history and allowing these youngsters to kind of get a flavour of what went on back in the day.
Yeah, obviously, well, I mean, we're obviously on to talk primarily about Aberdeen, but I mean, you were obviously part of the last non-Old Firm team to win a Premier League title back in 1985. I mean, Hearts went close this year. Do you see the duopoly being broken anytime soon?
Well, it was almost broken, wasn't it? And I think Hearts deserve a lot of credit for the work that Derek and his squad did. I think it captured the imagination of everyone in Scotland and beyond our borders as well. It's been just such a long time that it would have been refreshing. Nothing against Celtic winning it. It's the best team at the end of the league campaign that lifts the title, and Celtic managed to do that right at the very end after, Hearts leading for such a long time. But yeah, I mean, Hearts have I've kind of maybe given an example to other clubs, like my old club as well, Aberdeen, Hibs too, what can be achieved if it's the right team put together. But, you know, it is different days. So, you know, I don't think we can compare, you know, what we did back in the day with the financial resources that Rangers and Celtic have now. The landscape has definitely changed, but that doesn't mean to say that it can't be done, because it was so close for Hearts to actually break that duopoly and lift the title. And I think it would have been refreshing for Scottish football. You know, I think probably most people that didn't support Celtic would have been delighted to see it happen. Obviously, you can understand why Celtic supporters wouldn't have wanted that to happen, but at the same time, I think for the benefit of Scottish football, it would have been some occasion.
And I get the big question is, I mean, are they going to be able to try and do it again next year? Of course, there's going to be another big summer of, you know, transfers, players coming in and out, and they might have some interest in some of their, you know, their key players as well. So of course, Rangers are surely, you'd think, going to put some money in too. So again, it's going to be a big challenge for them to try and get up there and do it again.
Well, it's a big challenge for all the clubs. You know, my club in particular. Hearts will have to, you know, go again. They'll have to get the enthusiasm. They'll have to probably change some of the squad round. They might lose key players. That's what happens when you're, you know, challenging at the top and being successful. And Derek will know that, and Hearts will know that. You know, but it's up to Hibs and Aberdeen. You know, you've watched Motherwell and what they've managed to do on a really small budget. So I think the responsibility is on the group, including Rangers. You know, because Rangers can't take this line down either. It just wouldn't be acceptable to their fans or their board of directors. So, yeah, I can imagine quite a bit of a turnover of players, turnover of talent during the summer from all clubs, but particularly the bigger clubs, the ones that you expect to be challenging for the title. You know, Rangers, Celtic, Aberdeen, Hearts, Hibs as well, and you know, a team like Motherwell can't be discounted either.
Well, you obviously said that times have changed. I mean, this time last year, Aberdeen, the Granite City, was set to celebrate a famous Scottish Cup victory. The future looked bright at that point. But
well, if I could just come across you, if you had watched Aberdeen the second half of last season, then I don't think you would have said that the future was looking bright. And I do feel, although I was pretty loyal and confident that they would do it, but I did have my doubts, believe me. So no, I think that was the kind of a shining moment for Aberdeen fans in a year. So that's the second half of the season before. This season it's just finished. You know, and then the start of this season, it's just finished as well. And it was a fantastic afternoon. It always is, you know, when you get silverware, when you lift a trophy. But the signs going into that game weren't good. I don't think anyone had Aberdeen as the victors at the end of the afternoon, apart from me. And even then I had my doubts, because I watch them every week as well. You know, so I see them, I understand their strengths and weaknesses, but on the day, and that's important in a cup tie, a cup final, on the day, they certainly put in a performance that was worthy of lifting the trophy, and the fans thoroughly enjoyed that, that's for sure.
Yeah. It probably should have been the launch pad though, Willie, innit? I mean, because although as you say, that cup probably papered over the cracks because it all wasn't well in the sort of league. They were slipping down the league, but they'd still qualified for Europe before the cup final. But that in itself, with guaranteed group stage football again, and the finances that came with that, it should have been a position to rebuild and really go for it again, shouldn't it have?
Well, yes, but you've got to take into consideration the issues with playing in Europe as well, and how you can cope with that. And Aberdeen, you know, they're not the first club that has found it really difficult to cope with it. I mean, you could say that Hearts found it difficult when they were involved in European football, and even Rangers and Celtic find it difficult. So, listen, there's a huge challenge. Yes, I think the optimism on the day, the Scottish Cup final day, was there, but it was soon quashed going into the new season. So, And I think the signs were definitely there before the cup final that change was required, and unfortunately it wasn't. And the team, really disappointed the first half of this season. So much so that the manager loses his job, which is always, a sad occasion. But I think Aberdeen's got to set their standards. I think Hearts got to set their standards, Hibs as well. And it's certainly top six. I don't think anything other than top six can be acceptable for these clubs because of the resources they've got. And when that doesn't happen, then, usually managers change, heads tumble, and you can understand why.
Yeah, just looking at that, even that Scottish Cup winning team, you look at the actual lineup as well. I mean, a lot of them players aren't even there anymore, so it just shows you the constant sort of turnover in players that's changing from each window to window. Let alone even you look at the January window, there's so many players that got moved on as well. So there's that constant change just can't be helpful, can it?
It's a modern day football, so you've just got to accept it. Your recruitment department's got to be on their toes. They'll have to certainly be on their toes this summer. A lot of work to be done at Pittodrie in terms of getting players out and trying to bring new players in and supporting Stephen Robinson. So, but the modern day game, and Hearts will probably find it out. If you're successful, you've got good players and you've unearthed players that have been successful, then other clubs are going to look at them, and bigger clubs are going to look at them. You've got to probably take the finance from any deals that you can do and reinvest it. And that's why I said in all clubs, the recruitment department is so important nowadays. You can't just leave it to managers. There's a world out there, there's technology out there that can identify players, identify their strengths and their weaknesses. And that's got to be used. It's got to be used in a big way. Hearts have done that, they've proven that. But you've also got to get players that understand what playing in Scotland is as well. You need a core of experienced players that have sampled Scottish football, and I think Hearts have done that well too. Rangers and Celtic maybe a little bit different in terms of that. Although I don't see any problems or any issues with both the Old Firm clubs looking at Scottish players and securing their services. And I think Aberdeen have got to do that. They've got to have that nucleus of senior experienced players that understand what the game's about up here, that have done it, have got a proven track record, and then look to unearth some talent out there, because there is talent out there in different countries. You've just got to get the right one. You've got to use the right tools to identify them.
Willie, how would you sum up this season for Aberdeen?
Sorry, I'm shaking here. You asked me that question. There's nothing more to say than it's been pretty awful. It's been a real struggle, a real toil. Interim managers that lift a trophy and then lose their job at the turn of the year. The kind of a gap and hiatus that you put temporary people in charge, and then you're looking for a new manager, and then you see a performance like Dunfermline away in the Scottish Cup, and you know that you've got to act. You can't leave it. You can't leave it to the summer to bring a new manager in, because the living spot was definitely within the sights of Aberdeen at that time, and Stephen Robinson has managed to turn that round. But even listening to the new manager, he knows that there's got to be change. He knows that the issue. He's had time to come in and look at the squad. He's done what he was asked to do, and that's avoid a living spot. But he's now got to build for the future. So no, last season was hugely disappointing. And the surprising thing is it didn't affect the crowds. I mean, the Aberdeen fans have been absolutely sensational in supporting the club. I can't believe it at times when I see the numbers coming out. So the club have got that part of it right. The fans are wholly behind the board, the club, the manager, the players, but they're getting very little in return for it, because the standard has got to improve. It really has got to improve in the new season.
You watched a lot of the games, Willie, in terms of for the radio, for Red TV, different things. What was the issue on the pitch over the course of the season, or the biggest issues on the pitch?
Well, Stephen Robinson's mentioned it a couple of occasions where it's project players that are brought in, with the intention to maybe do another Majovsky, get them in, get them up to a high standard, and maybe move them on for serious money. I don't think that should be the prime direction that the club should move in. I think they've got to change that direction. I think they've got to be more focused on getting senior players in that can do the job now. Too many players coming in, not enough of them making a real mark in the club, not enough of them performing at the level that they need to perform at. So that's where the recruitment comes in, and the recruitment hasn't been good enough, so that's got to change, and the new recruitment team, I'm sure, will be working on that. But it's about players. Managers are important. Absolutely, managers are important. But if you don't have the tools, you don't have the players that are going to go out there and perform week in, week out, and have the right character, determination, the right quality as well. And Aberdeen haven't had that. Goals have been very, very sparse. Goals for Aberdeen. And at the other end, they've been leaking too many goals as well. They haven't been creating opportunities either. So it's a major issue for Stephen Robinson. But from what I hear and listening to him recently, he's well aware of what's required. So he just needs that support to go and do the job.
Yeah. After the game yesterday, like you mentioned there, he's not been shy and kind of expressing his opinions on how he feels, where he feels the squad are at. And do you think that's something the players maybe need to hear, them sort of hard truths? Because, like you said, there's going to be a lot of discussions with many players in the squad about their futures and whether they're going to be sticking around with them.
Well, during the season, I'm not too sure if that's the right way to go about it. But at the end of the season, absolutely. I mean, it's got to be, laid down. What players he wants to keep at the club. It's only fair to the players as well. I mean, if the manager doesn't fancy and doesn't want you about, then I think the best thing you can do is move on and find another club for yourself. So, honest conversations got to be had. And I'm sure that Stephen will have these honest conversations. And there's no point in players, I don't think anyway, that don't have a future at the club, staying at the club. Of course, there's other issues to take into consideration, i.e. contracts, and that could be an issue for the club, trying to move some of these players on that have decent contracts and long-term contracts, and fees that they've paid, and maybe still have to pay some of the transfer fees that are due. So it's not going to be easy, but I think honest conversations is required, and I'm sure Stephen will do that.
What have been your thoughts on the job that Stephen has done so far, Willie?
Well, it's early, isn't it? I mean, he's come in and he's done the job that he's required to do, and that's avoid the 11th spot in the league table. But he knows himself. Watching the last two games in particular, not good enough. Just not good enough. So he's done the job that he's been asked to do. Now he has to set the bar high, and he knows that he has to set the bar high. As Aberdeen, he'll get the backing, I'm sure. But there's a lot of work to be done. I've said that on a number of occasions. There's a lot of work to be done with the sporting director and the recruitment department. It's so important to make that change, because he just can't accept what he's seeing just now, and that's not my words. That's his own words. And I agree with him. Having watched Aberdeen, for forever probably, but in particular this season. And even the tail end of last season, then change is required, and the manager has been tasked with that job, and I wish him well. I wish him all the best.
Can Aberdeen take hope from, what Hearts have done this season? I know Hearts have got maybe a bit more financial backing, but a lot of the Aberdeen fans are looking at it and saying, well, if you look at Hearts last season, they finished in the bottom six, and now they're up challenging. I know it's going to be difficult, but it can be achieved.
No, it can be, and yeah, as an example of what can be done. I think your only issue, of course, about getting too enthusiastic is that what are Rangers and Celtic going to do? Because Obviously, Rangers are hugely disappointed. Celtic have got the title. They could, lift the Scottish Cup as well. It could be a double for them. But surely they're not in a position where they think that Celtic are a finished article. I'm sure Martin O'Neill will be telling the board that that's not the case. So they will invest, Rangers will invest, Hearts will invest, Aberdeen will invest, and I would imagine Hibs would invest as well. So no, it's looking good for an exciting season next season. We'll have to wait and see what happens during the summer. But if these three clubs outside the old firm get their act right, and Hearts continue to improve, and Aberdeen improve vastly, and Hibs improve, in their season, then it could be as exciting as the one that we've just had.
And if you look at the squad as well, I mean, one of the players that at least managed to get a couple of goals in towards the end of the season was Tayosi Olasanya. What have you made of him? And if there was a chance for Aberdeen to get him next season, would you like to see that?
Yeah. I mean, I think he brings something different. He brings an enthusiasm. He brings a physicality. He's a player that likes to run in behind. He's not so cultured in front of goal, I would suggest. I think he's an instinctive player. But if he was cultured in front of goal, I don't think it would be at Pittodrie. I think there would be other clubs that might take an interest in him. But I think he's been pretty good for Nisbet. I think Kevin Nisbet's benefited from having that kind of a company up beside him. So yeah, I think if they could, sign him up then and get him either, in a further loan deal. I'm not too sure his contractual situation just now, but secure him for next season. I think that would be definitely beneficial.
As an Aberdeen fan, Willie, and watching all these games, and as a quality defender in your day, have you been watching some of the goals they've lost this season through the cracks of your fingers?
Yeah, it's been difficult. Although some of these players have come onto a game. I mean, I really enjoy watching Mats Knuster. Unfortunately, he seems to have a bad injury just now. And Jack Milne is a young player. Morrison as well has improved over the piece. Goalkeeper's been in and out, been changed. So hasn't really been too settled at the back. And some of the goals have been very disappointing. None more so than the last goal of the season. You can't defend a corner in 90 minutes, to at least secure a point. But yeah, I mean, there's work to be done there as well. I think defensively, creatively, and in the goal scoring front. And it won't be missed by Stephen Robinson. So he'll be well aware that these areas have got to improve, and got to improve a fair bit.
Going to put you on the spot here as a former director of football. Are there any players out there that you would like to see in the Premiership that you'd like to see at Pittodrie?
No, I don't. I don't dive deep into other teams, to be perfectly honest. And I think it would be remiss of me to venture an opinion on other teams' players as well. I think and by the way, sorry, excuse me. I don't have all the technology that they have these days to identify these players and what their strengths and weaknesses are. The club will have all that. The recruitment department will have all that. And I don't get paid to suggest to Aberdeen which players they might go for, other than the ones that I see on the pitch. And there are still some very good players at Aberdeen, but not enough, unfortunately. And that needs to be sorted. So I think what Aberdeen's got to do is not just look at Scotland, but look abroad as well, and try to secure the services of a better quality of player. And if they can do that, then you look at Hearts, and that's what they've done, and they've got a good manager there as well. And I'm sure Stephen Robinson will turn out to be a good manager for Aberdeen as well. But time will only tell on that. The stakes are high. He needs to get in there, needs to make the changes. He needs to drive the club forward in whichever direction he sees that they have to go. He has to bring the type of player that he enjoys seeing, and he has to give Aberdeen fans some hope. They need that hope. They're desperate for it. They enjoyed that Scottish Cup last season, but the league campaign was poor, both at the end of last season, beginning of this season. So well, not just the beginning of the season, the full season. So that needs to change, and his job starts now. You know, the season's gone. He can say what he wants to players. He can say what he wants to the chief executive, the sporting director, the recruitment department as well. And it's now his job to, you know, paint a picture for them and get the players that he thinks is required at the club so that they can challenge at the top of the league next season.
One thing that he might have that can maybe work in his favour is that when the season does start, they'll have the League Cup group stages. I mean, you look back to when Jimmy Clean came in, that kind of gave him a good chance to sort of hit the ground running and get a few wins under his belt. I mean, you're not going to look past any of his opponents, of course, but it does give him a chance to maybe try out like new systems and new players and stuff like that. And hopefully, you know, from then it forms a bit of a team together.
Well, yeah, it's less pressure, that's for sure, than a European campaign or having to deal with European ties. It doesn't give him much time to get his team sorted out, but he can rebuild the team, you know, during the League Cup campaign. It's probably a good thing that he's back in early, mid-July, rather than waiting for a European campaign as the club did last season, just to get his feet under the managerial desk, or get him out there in the training field and get the players in that he would hope was going to make a difference for the club, and they get them tested in competitive situation. Don't take the competition too lightly, though. I'm not a fan of managers and clubs that take it too lightly. It's an important competition, but it still is a competition that can be used to build a team, to build a squad. So it gives them that chance very early, and if you can get players in early, you know, all the better.
Willie, you touched on, obviously we're going across Aberdeen, you touched on the World Cup. Can we just sign off, just by your thoughts looking ahead just to Scotland's World Cup group?
Yeah, I think the first game's really important. I think if they win the first game, they've got every chance of qualification out the group. So, no, I think it's just great to be back there. I mean, the players now that Steve Clarke have got, most of them are experienced players. Most of them are playing at a really high level. So it's not a case of he's coming into a young, inexperienced squad. He's coming into mature players that have got you know, immense quality and dealing with the pressures of playing at a high level. And you know, if you want to make a name for yourself, then there's not a better place to make it, and that's at the World Cup. And if they could get themselves out of the group, which I think they will do, then you just never know what can happen. You know, on the day, you know, the performances. Well, we saw it the Denmark game, you know, which was outstanding, and the goals that were scored there were sensational, I would say. Every one of them. Even Lawrence Shankland's one, but you know, the one that started and the one that finished just gets everybody excited about what's ahead. So if they can get anywhere close to that kind of equality, then I think they will do well in the World Cup. They will get themselves out the group stages, and you know, hopefully do something special. You know, it's a difficult competition, but you know, don't go in there with fear. Go in there with optimism and hope, and I'm sure that's the mantra that Steve Clarke will have. You know, going into what should be a hugely exciting time for the country, for the Scottish fans. And give them hope. I think they do have hope and optimism, the Scotland fans, the Tartan Army, and I'm sure they'll enjoy themselves. And I hope that the players can and the managers can, you know, get performances and results that gives them even more hope, and get them out of that group stage, and then see what happens thereafter.
Yeah, Steve Clarke won't be overlooking Haiti at all. You know, he'll be clued up on them as much as he can. But what a chance that game, particularly, just to, like you say, if you win that, I mean, I think some cases you could even get through just with 3 points. So it's a really, really big one. Yeah.
But, you know, I don't dismiss the other two games as being crucial as well, and getting yourself tested. You know, against Morocco and Brazil. So no, I mean, the whole group is one that is exciting. But the first one's vitally important, and you know, if you can get off to a good start, then and it gives the players confidence as well. It gives them, you know, that feeling that this could be something special. I think after the game against Denmark at Hampden, then they would have that feeling. So, they just want to reinforce that in the first game and take that forward and see where it takes them. It could be a magnificent adventure, it could be a wonderful journey. Again, you just got to wish them all the best, and hopefully they can bring that A game to the World Cup and do something special.
I think that the whole nation echoes that, Willie. I appreciate that. Thank you very much for your time.
Yeah.
As this
No
season draws to a close, obviously you can still get your football fix in the short term. As I said, that Miller and McLeish podcast live in Aura nightclub on the 26th and 27th of May. Tickets are still available. So if you want to go and see Mr. Miller and Mr. McLeish in person and get a chat all things Aberdeen, Scotland, then get your tickets for that event. But in the short term, for all the latest Scottish football breaking news, join us at thedailyrecord.co.uk and across all our platforms for all the latest Scottish football news. Until next time, thanks for joining us. All the best.